Dawson's Rentals.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to my spoiler video for Power Rangers Dino Fury episode 16? I think this is 16. I always forget the numbers when I get to a certain point, but I think it's 16. This is our more official, thorough debut of the Gold Ranger. Sounds like it was a big episode, lots of stuff to talk about. So I keep wanting to say last week because I always say that in the context of my reviews, but yesterday we got kind of the physical debut of the Gold Ranger, you know, the suit kind of showing off all that stuff and a little bit of a teaser, but we didn't know exactly, you know, who he was. I mean, we did know who he was if you watch the press releases, but in the show you don't know who he was. And, you know, we get a new opening that features him in it, which makes sense, but at the same time, this always bothers me. I know that in this case, and in most cases in the recent years, we get like a bunch of press releases and interviews announcing who the Ranger is going to be. So we obviously, most people knew who the Gold Ranger was going to be this year and last year and stuff. But in the context of the show, it always bothers me when they're like, oh, who could this guy be? And then he's in the opening theme before they even show who he is. Like, they do that all the time, and it just always bothers me just on a storytelling level. Maybe for those people, there are some people out there that aren't the hardcore Ranger fans that are online every day. You know, I think there's three tiers. There's like the casual fans that would probably be surprised by who he is, the fans like me that, you know, are into all the news and stuff, and then the fans that go way too deep and stalk him on social media in a creepy way. I kind of got away from my point there. But the point is, we have a new opening. So Aiyon shows up at the base, and apparently he stopped by the Gap first because he has modern clothing. I don't know if that's explained. I didn't see anything about that. We'll get to that with the episode. But he kind of explains, you know, where he came from and all that stuff. And he explains that I guess the Nexus Prism warned the Green Emissary, which warned him, and it has to do with warning about Lord Zedd, which is interesting. I feel like the timeline's messy there with that, but I think the big headline is it seems like Zedd's going to be a much more important part of the season or the series than we thought. I mean, he escaped last time we saw him, or we will see him for the people who haven't seen the episodes yet, but I honestly assumed he might appear one more time as a one and done, which could still be possible, or maybe some people speculated that he could be one of the final villains next season, especially if it's like the last season and all that stuff, so I don't know, but it definitely appears like he's going to have a bigger role. Whether he appears only one more time or not, I think that's interesting and kind of neat. You know, I'm mixed feelings on it, but I like that they're at least going a little bit all in with that. So that's some interesting bit of information, especially since it ties in both the Morphin Masters and the Nexus Prism, which I think is neat. But that's not all, folks. He also explains some really interesting history about the Rafkonians and the Rangers. And I guess the reason he has a grudge against Zato and Zato's dark past is when he did that aerobics thing with Lupin Blue. No, I'm just kidding. But his dark past, I guess, is that the Rafkon people actually created the Sporix because they wanted a defense force for themselves, and they created the Sporix, and Zato voted yes on Proposition S, Proposition Sporix. I mean, to be fair, if you've ever voted before, you know all those little ballot things are really confusing. They're like, do you not want to not want, not, yes, want to, yes, no, yes to Sporix to bother Luke? It's like, wait, am I voting yes or no on this? The language is super confusing. Zato tries to explain that, but Aiyon's having none of it. He's like, you should have used one of the websites that explains the ballots to you. But he's mad at Zato for voting on that and voting the emergency powers to the Chancellor. So he wants to be leader because he thinks he can be a better leader, which sounds like it leads to a classic scenario